It is a couple of days before ground zero or round zero, depending on the way that you're looking at it. And to say that we're pumped is a little bit of an understatement, but we're going to get into that very, very shortly because it is going to be a cracking episode. And more importantly, the Jdog has got topics through the roof that are going to tease each and every single one of you to listen to every single minute of our magnificent podcast. Peps and Jdog joining you again. We had our tips from last week for ladders, etc. Went gangbusters, and we're going to talk about very, very shortly. But Jdog, great to have you back again. Get into the big topics for this week because before we get into what happened last week, let's give the listeners what they're going to be in tune for tonight.
Absolutely. All right. So we are going to discuss the big talking topic of the footballer from the weekend. We're going to discuss what the penalty should be. We're going to have a look at then, a couple of things. We're going to look at what the hell is round zero? Could WA host a gather round? And football boots? What's up with them?
I'm fascinated to find out about the football boots, but look, let's get into it. Weekend football, practice matches all the way around. And funny enough, last week I said, do we need practice matches? And people shot me down. Now I'm looking like a complete superstar because you know what? Jai Simpkin will be playing this week. Jimmy Webster would probably be playing this week, and we're going to have a chat about that. But it was good to see some of the upper echelon teams have a nice little blowout over the weekend, and teams that we thought that might be a little bit susceptible early on were found out, and teams that we thought that might be a little bit in trouble surprised a few as well. So I'm looking at my boys, the D's, definitely surprised. I thought North were very good against St Kilda. I would also say Hawthorn weren't looking too bad up until about halftime, and then they decided to fall asleep, and the Doggies took that game over. Collingwood did the business. Port Adelaide, you know what you did on the weekend, absolutely sensational. So I think that top echelon of teams, Sydney, GWS, great game again. But yeah, very, very interesting looking at the way it all sort of came together after that round. That I thought it's going to be a very, very tight season. But then I look at it and go, well, if you look at the same teams, one on the weekend, that's the guide that you want leading into ground zero. And it is a bit of a false economy because we don't have a full set of games. So we're going to get into that in a moment. But yes, I think everything it was nice to see. Okay, they're over. We can now get really stuck into the main things. But I think the big talking point out of all of the games was the bump by Jimmy Webster on Jai Simpkin. The media's gone nuts for it today. We're not going to spend too much time on it, but we have to answer this simple question. Jamie, the Jdog Wallis, you know how the tribunal doesn't work, just like me. How many weeks would you give it if you were in charge? And viewers, how many weeks would you give for Jimmy Webster if you were in charge of the tribunal? And listeners, leave a message in the comments on our Facebook page. How many weeks would you give Jimmy Webster if you're in charge of the tribunal?
I would give it 5 weeks. It's based on absolutely nothing that we know about the tribunal process, Peps, as we have spent the last 6 years talking about and trying to understand what their thoughts and points and rankings, and we've seen everything.
Yep.
I'm just going to call it 5 weeks.
You can't be 5 weeks. Can you honestly say that's 5 weeks? That's the way you look at it, five. After everything that's been going on with the way that Brayshaw retires last week, we've had king hits, we've had massive, we've had everything under the sun. I'm saying it has to be at least 8.
Okay.
All right. Hear me out. We're going to go all the way back really quickly. Start of last year, Pickett, shoulder charge on Bailey Smith. Got 2 weeks. The only reason he didn't get more was because he didn't get concussed.
Is that when he springed up and smacked him in the head?
Like it dead said it was like Goldberg spearing Hulk Hogan. It was like that. Then you had the DeGoey one last year. If you remember, halfway almost through the season when he jumped up, he got 3 weeks for that. 3 weeks for that. Maynard gets off. Brayshaw doesn't play again. Roll into this season, Sam Powell-Pepper gets 4 weeks for what he did. And I think he was a bit stiff, but if you actually look at it slowly enough, he does sort of not just brace, he does drive into him. So 4 weeks. So if you're saying what he did is only worth one more week than what Pal Pepper got?
I'm a genius.
You're an idiot. I love you, and you're an idiot.
So hang on. You've just said 2.
Yep.
3.
Yep.
4.
Yep.
Naturally, I'm falling a 5.
Here's the thing. I think the picker one they did unders. Degoe definitely got unders. Pal Pepper, look at it again. He actually has a 2 motion. He goes to brace and he drives his shoulder up. So he's also got to protect himself. So that's a tough one. But you have a look at that. Brayshaw retires, and then in the space of 1 week, a guy jumps off the ground and dead set drives his upper arm into his head. There's something very, very wrong there, Jdog, and that's got to be 8 weeks. And this is why the AFL need to come down hard, because those other ones, I don't think they came down hard enough.
Okay. Can I?
And you know what? He may never play again. We don't know at this stage. He may never play again, because when Maynard got off, we thought, Brayshaw may never play again. He looked like he was, and then he didn't.
Okay. All right. Can I ask a question? As you've been on a footy field much more recently than I have, like much.
Yep.
Much. Do you have an issue with Clarko having a crack at the player on the field? Is that a professional? Is that what
no,
professional?
I do have a crack at that. But here's my but. He was a coach in the heat of the moment. His play's just been laid out. We know everything that's been going on. It was a dog act. You know what Clarko's like. So he's admitted that he's done wrong, but I can also understand why he did it as well.
Yeah. I expected better. That's all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we all expect better. But, when you've seen your play just completely laid out with a dog late hit, that's got to be 8. I reckon he'll get 8.
Okay. I
think it should be more. I said 8 to be conservative. If Pal Pepper got 4 for a brace block, all that sort of jazz. This is worse than that. Like, this was a genuine takeout.
When's the tribunal?
Pardon?
When's the tribunal? Tomorrow
night.
Okay. We'll find out the results on when.
Find out those results. Yep. And I think, I've got a couple of comments flowing in at the moment here. You know what I love about we're doing this every single week now on the tube and on the pod as well? People from everywhere have been coming in. Pal Pepper's hit was fair. This one was twice as bad at least. Well, I don't think it was fair because he got him in the head. Okay, so, yep. Buzz said Jimmy should hit both the captain and coach. Interesting, Buzz. Good to see you back. Maybe the season. Did St Kilda win on the weekend? Yes, that's why Buzz has joined in. And good old Adam Peps, the great number 8 from Keilor Park. Players from Roos would have loved Clarko sticking up for them, help galvanise the group. I played under a coach that was a dead set mad bloke, Peter Baxter. And I remember him going back to back with another bloke one day, just pinging people left, right and centre against Hadfield. And you're sitting back going, mate, this bloke flies the flag. They're the one you want to be looking after. So I'm wrapped that he had a crack. He's crack. Yep, exactly right. So, Jdog, let's move on from that because that was yesterday and yesterday's history, and we don't want to talk about that. Tomorrow's a mystery. Today is the present, and that's why it is a gift, and the gift is everybody tuning in as we speak. You mentioned something a little bit earlier. We want to talk about the concept of round zero. Of round zero.
I will ask you.
Go for it.
Okay. So the footy fixture was released last year, and it was a change up. It was a strange change up to where we're only going to have the 4 or 5 games for round 0.
Yep.
So the concept to me is flawed straight away. I don't understand the concept, Peps. Can you just give me some rationale as to what AFL House were thinking when they brought out round 0, which is technically round 1?
Well, it should be round 1. Simple as that. Round 1, because you know what? We don't have, when we have the buys come in throughout the year, we don't go round. It's not like the Naked Gun 33 and a third, is it? Like, they don't go a third of a round. It should be just round 1 full stop. Okay. I think that they didn't want to piss off the Carlton and Richmond people because they've got their inverted commas, sarcastically traditional round 1 fixture that they didn't want to blow up. The only reason that they've done it, and it is simply this, the only reason why they have done it is because the NRL will not be on this weekend, and they are going to have clear path, a clear weekend to get in there. It's the only opportunity that they've got for the year. And the best way to have all eyes on the New South Wales and Queensland markets is to have games only in those two states at times everybody can watch, with the focus primarily on those two. And those four teams are playing against great teams from Melbourne, such as Melbourne, Collingwood, Carlton, and Richmond. I don't mind it whatsoever. I think the concept is stupid, but I like the concept of at least having a crack at trying to do something different. We wouldn't have got that under Gillen, McLaughlin.
So why don't we just schedule all 9 games and have the games in New South Wales and Queensland stay in the fixture anyway?
Really good point. Really good point, Jdog. That's probably the most intelligent thing that you've said, at least this episode. I think they could have done it. I just don't think that they wanted. So you reckon, mate, but because they're already doing a gather round in a couple of weeks' time. So they didn't want to have like round 1 gather, ground 0 gather round, and then another set of gather round, and it just doesn't make any sense. So you stick to these 4. It works. What I would have done, though, is I would have played teams that played interstate teams or played in the first lot of games, played each other the next week. Because there's teams that are going to be playing completely fresh teams next week. I don't think that's fair.
I don't. I just, for me, Peps, the only analogy I can think of is because round 1 is the big thing. That's what we all talk about. The whole footy landscape is around round 1, and all the teams and the Carlton and Richmond and the Carlton game on the Thursday or Friday night, whenever they want to play. Then you got this and you got those things. This, to me, it feels like the equivalent of putting the Melbourne Cup at race number 2 instead of the traditional race number 8 or 7 on the day. It feels like you're front loading it.
Yep.
And then the rest of the crowd are like, well, what the hell do we do now? Let's just go home or drink on. You know, I don't. Yeah.
No, I don't see it. Oh, look, I don't see it that way. It's maybe, you know what it could be? It could be because your team's not playing this weekend. Yeah. And I reckon that's got a point to it. So I know Craigie Jones is on here. He loves Craigie Jones from the Portress podcast. If you haven't listened to the Portress podcast, get on it. Even if you're not a Portress supporter, they do cracking work. So get onto what they do. He's probably thinking the same things. Like, well, my team's not playing this week, so it's a bit of an anti-climax. And I reckon that's it, because my team's playing. They're playing Sydney first game of the year. Ken Bruce is excited, my friend. I think if you're a supporter of another team, you sort of don't give a shit.
But what are you doing for the other time?
Viewers, am I wrong?
No, you've probably got a point. To me, it just feels like another round of these rubbish practice games, which are archaic back in the 70s when players were builders and plumbers and office workers, and they had to have practice games. It just feels like it's another round of practice games, and I feel it really just flattens for me round 1 and seeing your team in the legitimate competition.
I don't think so. I think this will be very, very similar to one of the bye rounds where you've got 4 games and a number of teams being rested. That's literally what it comes down to. So I wouldn't be too bogged down with a Jdog. If it's successful, and you've got to also look at why they're doing it. They are growing the game in these northern states. Now, we spoke about this last week, and I really want to focus on it as well too, because if you haven't had a chance and have a look at our video relating to is the NRL or the AFL the top dog, it went berserk in the comments. We were called everything under the sun, especially yours truly. And the point I was trying to make is that, well, the AFL is growing gangbusters in Queensland. In Sydney, I know it's still a very Sydney-centric NRL state, but the Swans are the biggest ticket in town. So AFL is growing. Now, it may not have the TV audiences, but it is the biggest show, not the biggest video in town. And that's the key thing. Yes, I watched the rugby yesterday for about the first 10 minutes, and then I went, okay, I'm not a rugby guy, but I was intrigued to see how it looked, and it looked awesome. I'd even sent you a message going, how cool is this? But then after that, I was like, okay, it's just another game of rugby. So
I thought it did look pretty sick.
it did.
I must admit, I thought it looked great.
And there was 40,000 people there. Fantastic. Good on them. The rugby players would have been, what the hell are these people in the stands? We never see them.
Bad luck for the timing that it was on the same weekend that NASCAR was on in Vegas. That's unfortunate.
Unfortunate. You know, you got to have NASCAR. But I think now that I can understand why they do it. The game is growing big time. A lot of the comments coming through were saying that you don't realise that the underlings side, so the young kids these days, are getting gripped by AFL fever. Gold Coast is going to explode. That when they start really winning, that market is going to explode. It's a very smart thing that they're doing this week, and I just think it's because your team's not playing, and that's to any team that's not playing this week. It's like, well, it feels like another set of practice matches. But to the teams that are playing, I'm pumped. I can't wait for it.
So how does this permeate then through the rest of the season? So because effectively for whatever it is, 10 other teams or whatever I can't remember. I can't do maths that quick. What does it mean? Does that mean they don't play a bye on the bye rounds and there's more bye rounds and we have more short games, like weekends?
Yeah, so basically each team will get virtually 2 byes. Now, the first 10 clubs have got theirs almost this week, if that makes sense. Melbourne and Richmond and Gold Coast, Collingwood, etc., the other clubs will have another round off in a couple of weeks.
I just once again, to me...
Yep. They go 2, 3, 4, and 6 have byes. Thanks, Craigie Jones. So, yeah.
It just convolutes a system that shouldn't be that convoluted.
It does, but you know what? At least they're having a crack, Jdog. Like, at least they're doing something.
They've done something. They just could have just done that and then put the other 9 games around.
They couldn't, because then that would be literally another gather round, another set of interstate trips for clubs.
Yeah, okay. All right.
The gather round is already messing up the league as well and giving you guys, the Adelaide teams, a preference, an added extra home game. They should play the showdown on gather round to make it fair for everybody.
All right. Any more on that one?
I just want people to leave comments and let us know. Am I right? Are you excited for ground zero or round zero or whatever you like to call it? Or you just really couldn't care and you're going to wait until round 1, which is next week, when all 18 teams get balls deep into this round of footy?
All right. Peps.
Yes, Jdog.
I had a wedding invite come into the Wallis household for a family wedding.
Yep.
Family wedding. Great cousin. Obviously, I'll be seeing her when she gets married. But the wedding is in WA. And so I was booking flights for the family and all that sort of thing. And I was looking at the prices of flying over there. So the flights over there are quite expensive because it is Western Australia. It's the other side. It's a 4.5 hour, 5 hour flight. And it got me thinking, WA is the one state that gather round would never work.
Of course not. It's too far. It's too far. Hey, it's a great time if you want to have a couple of beverages on the plane flying across. But too far.
I think
it's way too far. Like, have you flown to Perth before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Imagine having to go over for a round of football, all 18 clubs flying in. It costs you a fortune to fly to Perth as it is. Why would you then not have prices being jacked up again to what, $1,000 return minimum?
So roll with me then. Would there be outrage if if AFL moved gather round to promote football in Western Australia and an inclusion of all Australian games and not Vic Central bias and all that stuff we hear every week? If they moved it over there, would you be outraged?
All right. So no, here we go. Now I'm starting to get a little bit fired up, all right? I'm like my T-shirt says, I am like a cork in the ocean when it comes to this one, Jdog. I'm a little bit fired up. First and foremost, stop giving me this Vic-centric crap that you always hear at the moment. It's almost like white privilege. Like it's a joke. You know, the other states joined the VFL. So, yes, it is a VFL-centric competition because we started the damn thing in this particular state. You all jumped on board, okay? You've got half of your games are played at home, so stop having a stook about that. All right. No, it's not going to go over to Perth for the simple fact as well, too. They're already a football state. They don't need to have any more promotion over there because they are nuts for the game. Waste of time. Adelaide, perfect place for it. It's easy for Melbourne. It's easy for Sydney, easy for Brisbane, easy for Perth. Easy to go in. They've got it for the next 5 years. Leave it at that. You couldn't have it in Melbourne because every other state would sook about it. You couldn't have it in Sydney because I don't think there'd even be enough football grounds to host it at. You'd have to go GWS's home ground. You'd have to have the SCG. You'd probably have to play them in Canberra as well too. It's probably snowing at that particular time of year. You wouldn't want to do it in Brisbane.
I could do Brisbane.
Actually, Brisbane you could do. Northern Territory you couldn't do, but actually it'd be pretty good in Darwin. But yeah, Perth's way too far. They're already a football state. It'd be a waste of time. I reckon if you did it in Brisbane, half Gold Coast, half at the Jabbertoir, you could make it work. But I think it just works nicely in Adelaide. It gives you a reason to go to South Australia.
Can I play a hypothetical?
Yeah.
What if WA Tourism Board came to AFL House? You're CEO, you're Gillen, yep, or whoever you want to be. You could be Peps.
Andrew Gillen.
Andrew, okay.
Or it could be Lee Mack.
I've offered you $20 million to move Gather Round.
Yep.
Would you do it? Would you go the $20 million up front, cash in the pocket? Mm-hmm. The diehard fans are going to travel anyway, mm-hmm, and they can just suck it.
Mm-hmm. Would
you make the move?
Is this in the middle of the South Australian contract?
No, because the contract for South Australia's got another 2 more years to run, hasn't it?
It's 5 years. That's 5 years.
Okay. So what we are then?
Year? Why not?
So 2030. 2030?
So 2030, we announce in 2028 that in 2030 we will be hosting Gather Round in WA.
God, you're cheap. You're a cheap contract. Only 20 mil cost me.
No. You just threw a number and I said yes. Probably going to cost you more. But I would say yes.
Oh, dear.
Yep. I would. I reckon it's a great concept. And once again, it's another way that the AFL are chasing the tail of the NRL from a concept perspective.
I do like the idea. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, Brisbane absolutely works for a Gather Round. Sydney would work for a Gather Round. Melbourne would easily host a Gather Round, and Adelaide is perfect for Gather Round. But I was just like, damn, I don't know much about. I think WA couldn't make it work.
I think they could make it work, but it'd be bloody expensive to get there.
Yeah,
not as expensive as Vegas.
No, it's no Vegas.
No, it's no Vegas.
All right.
What happens in Rottnest Island stays in Rottnest Island. Am I right there? Am I right there, viewers? Like, leave a comment if you think that Gather Round could work in Perth. Or if it couldn't, give us your reason why. We would love to hear it. All right, Jdog, what's next on the agenda?
Peps.
Yes.
He's back. The redhead is back to Melbourne in a fake surprise comeback. What are you thinking, Peps? Are you excited about there he is. Are you excited about the ginger, Clayton Oliver, coming back into the AFL? What are your thoughts?
Am I excited for Clayton Oliver to be back? Why wouldn't we be? Why wouldn't we be? What? I don't even see what the issue is here.
Is it a story?
I don't think it's a story. I just think it's St Kilda supporters who are on the chat right now trying to take the focus off their dirty club. No, I'm rapt that he's back. He's paid his penance. He's been away from the club for quite a long time. He's had to play 2 of his practice matches in the VFL, which is like me playing reserves footy where I just dominated. Buzz will tell you. Lee Mack will tell you. Why not bring him back? We're stupid. He's top 10 midfielder in the league by the length of the Flemington Straight. And you team him up with Petrarca, especially with no Brayshaw there. Stupid not to play him. If he's done everything right by the club, great. If he stuffs up again, boot him.
I have an issue with...
I said that weeks ago.
I have an issue with the headlines. Not an issue. I have an issue with it. They were saying a shock selection. I'm like, is really a top 5 midfielder a shock selection?
No, it's just a shock selection because they thought, he hasn't trained with the club for a long time and he's had these issues. And I'm amazed that he's back. Well, a few people said he wouldn't even play again. A few people said that he wouldn't play until the middle of the year. There was new rumor. We'd had this chat offline about when he would come back.
Mm-hmm.
I was surprised that he's come back. I maybe thought he'd have a week or two in the Magoos. But if he's fit enough, I'll put it this way. If Brayshaw was playing this week, maybe he wouldn't have been playing. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Does round one matter to get players back or not? Is that still the thing or it doesn't matter anymore?
No. I think, look, every player, you do a whole preseason and the last thing that you want to do is not play round one because that's your whole preseason. All right?
Okay.
But as it's been mentioned before, round one is the same as round 23.
Yep.
So,
well, not round one, ground zero.
Apologies. Ground zero and round 23 are exactly the same. And I do agree with that. I do honestly agree with that. So you've got players at your club that are not right, give them a week or two. Give them a week or two because you can play in this week and then they fall over again or break down. They're out for another 6 to 8 weeks. You don't want that. So just give them time. Give them time. Especially if you've only got 3 or 4 injuries on your list like a lot of clubs have.
Yeah.
Don't risk it for the biscuit, mate. It's round one. It's great to get that first win on the board, but doesn't really make that much of a difference at the end.
Well, teams like Hawthorn and Essendon are probably praying that God they've got this week off. Yep. Is North Melbourne playing? I can't remember.
No, they're not playing, no.
No.
So it just means that they just get another week to get their teams right.
Yeah.
But for clubs that are in contention, they just want to get off to a good start. Clubs that, like you said, Hawthorn, North, West Coast, Fremantle, I would say Essendon as well too, Western Bulldogs. I'm throwing sort of Gold Coasty, bottom 80 type of St Kilda because they want to show their supporters that they're on the right path. So they want to get that win in round one. I think the more seasoned clubs, especially this ground zero round, whatever they serve up, they don't want to get blown away. So you would not want to see Gold Coast blow away Carlton after everything's been spruiking up Carlton over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right? Melbourne wouldn't want to get blown away by Sydney because then the jungle drums are out, or why'd you play this, or the culture, all that sort of jazz as well. So you want to get off to a good start, but you're not going to risk a Petty or a McAdam or a Jai Simpkin or anything on those lines based on round one.
Yeah, I get it.
Too much. And Port Adelaide don't really do anything for the first 6 rounds anyway. It's usually after that they start playing some football and winning some games.
You're talking about we won 13 in a row.
Yeah, from what round?
Not first 2. Yeah, round 6 onwards.
Yeah, round 6 onwards. Yeah, exactly right. So,
all right.
Peps,
this is my big question. And I have a lot of time to think. I ride my bike quite a lot and I have quite a lot of time to think about stuff. And when I'm riding my bike and I'm small in your window, that's fine, whatever you're doing there.
I meant to click you, to be honest. I'm sorry.
All right. So I have a lot of time to think and my brain just starts going about this topic. I have my sport, technology in cycling is big. I look across at football and look at footy boots and I wonder to myself, what the hell is going on with football boots these days, Peps? Let's talk a bit about the technology in footy boots because I was also in Rebel Sport just perusing. Do you know the cost of an AFL for a football boot these days?
Look, we had a bit of a chat about this a little bit earlier today, and I did do a little bit of research when it came into this, and let's just say that I didn't get hit by Jimmy Webster, but I almost did get a concussion from looking at the prices of football boots these days.
Yes.
And the worst thing is they're made of plastic. They're not even leather.
Wow. I went down the rabbit hole, Peps, I must say. Can I tell you the rabbit hole that I went down?
Let's just go through a bit of the rabbit hole that you went down, because then I'll tell you a bit of the rabbit hole that I went down.
Oh, rightio.
This topic, because I think this is a topic even bigger than just the price of football boots. I think this is the price of sport, full stop.
Oh, rightio. Okay, so I start with my rabbit hole here.
Yep.
I'm looking down at my shoes, my cycling shoes, and I'm looking at it going, there's dials, there's this, there's that, there's technology building, it's carbon plated, there's different factors of carbon, there's dials, there's aero shaping, there's holes. It's basically all in there. There's a pedal system involved. I look at football boots and I think to myself, for 100 years plus, what have these things done? And then I looked at the price of football boots, Peps, and there's the price for what I don't, and this is a conversation I want to take you down later, is $370 for a pair of football boots. That was my first fall over moment. The second fall over moment was I went on, if you go on to, I suppose Rebel website now, if you want to play along with us.
Yep.
If you go to Nike, there is something like 30 different models of football boots. There is Tiempos, there are Vulture something else's, there's a Vulture Fly something this, there's a sock type, there's a not sock type, there's swirls on the boots, there's... Where the hell and what the hell has happened to the humble footy boot, Pep?
I'll tell you what, Jdog. It's as simple how it gets for me, my friend. When you play football, there's only one type of boot that you should be wearing, and they're black. Black boots. Black boots are coming back. When I was growing up, and I know one guy who's on here with me, Lee Mack, we used to play a bit of footy together as juniors. And all we had was the basic, I don't even remember these. They were a black Adidas boot with fluoro green Adidas stripes. And the Adidas stripes were like a crinkle cut. They weren't
on the edges.
On the edges, right?
Yep.
Everybody wanted them.
Classic.
Everybody wanted them.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as you got a little bit older, right, you then started to go into, okay, I'm getting into senior footy. I want to get myself a proper pair of boots. But you wouldn't pay anything more than about $150 at the most. And that pair would last you for 6 seasons. All right. And you'd have 2 pairs. You'd have a pair of screw-ins and you'd have a pair of molds as well. All right. Because you've got to adapt to the conditions. So you'd be up, but you wouldn't buy that every single year. The screw-ins would last you 6, 7, 8 years because you'd only use them when they were really, really wet. You probably go through the other ones every 3, 4 years, depending on how much. I used to go through a lot more because I'd wear out the toe from all the possessions that I'd be getting. I'm getting people lace out week after week. But it usually came down to 2 types of boots. It was either the Puma King, or it was the Adidas Copa Mundial. They were the 2. They were black. They were kangaroo leather. They were molds. They were that is what you aimed for. And then it started to grow in. The blades came out.
Oh, yeah.
And then the Adidas Predator boots came out.
Predators were good.
The Adidas had the wedge. The Adidas wedge. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
Yep, the wedge boot. You then the Tempo came in and really set everything off. And then the colours started to come in. It wasn't just white boots. It was pink. It was orange. It was blue. It was white. And everything started to come in and it looked like a pack of Fruit Loops running around the field between 2 and 4 every weekend. But they made a plastic, Jdog. Like they're not leather.
No.
Leather boots. Boots.
Let me take you down a rabbit hole.
They're all synthetic crap.
Thank you.
And
so
they mold to your foot. And
let me take you down my rabbit hole now, Peps. Welcome to the Jdog rabbit hole that I went down. So then I went down and I thought to myself, well, what is up with this tech? Okay? So synthetics. I've always known footy boots, as you said there, Peps. Kangaroo leather was the duck's nuts. It was soft. It was supple. It molded around your foot, and it was hardy. And then I'm like, well, what's going on here? So then the synthetic boot came in, Peps, because a synthetic boot meant that it never retained water, so it was lighter, which meant more agile, which meant increased speed across the ground. And this is the rabbit hole, Peps, that I'm going down here. So then it becomes around, do you want the traditional leather which gets wet and heavy, kicking a wet and heavy ball? And it goes back to our footy talk our first show. Or do you want a light boot that doesn't take on water, which is a lighter boot to run around in, but probably doesn't last you? And this is the next point. I'm hearing reports of footy boots are going through 2 pairs a season now with kids and adults.
Who's going through 2 pairs a season?
Training and playing. They're running through 2 boots a season.
Is that crap, Jdog?
I'm hearing Peps. This is what I have seen and I have heard from others. They are buying 2 pairs of boots a season.
I'm looking at some of the boots now on the Rebel website. We're not affiliated with Rebel, but if you want to throw up a couple of pairs, give them away. But I'll take leather any day of the week. I think that the plastic ones are going to look shit. They look great when they're dry, but when they're dirty, no good. The second thing is that I actually want a proper boot that I can feel on my foot. They're not going to split. They're going to age well. For kids, not as much. But if I'm an adult and I'm going to be living in this, I want to invest in a proper pair of boots. And I've just never been a fan of the synthetic ones. I've tried them, never liked them. So my entire career, mind you, I retired 10 years ago. There's been a little bit of advancement in footwear technology since then.
Has there though, Peps?
Well, yeah, there has, Jdog. Like I'm looking at a lot. Like I said, like when I finished, you had 2 colours to choose from, predominantly black or white.
So we're talking about 100 years of technology. You've got blades and colours. Is that what you're saying? In 100 years, blades and colours are the only 2 things we've brought out, and we're charging $370 for a pair of those?
Different materials, different light.
What materials?
I don't know what they're made of. You try and find me the synthetic cow that they breed the boots off, or
This comes back to my issue. Why are we? Well, not we, because we don't play. But why?
I'm going to ask you the same. You're a bike rider, mate.
Yes.
Seriously, they're carbon, aren't they?
But I can tell you why.
How? There's no difference, mate. There's no difference for a weekend bike rider from a bike with carbon that costs $2,000 for someone who's going to pay $10,000 for a carbon bike. I can't justify it. You can.
I can.
Boots.
So this is a thing, but I know that there is absolutely technology built into my expensive high-end bike versus a very low-end bike, which then brings me to my next point, Peps. Is there a top, a mid, and a low-range football boot, or are they all just the same thing at the end of the day?
There are top end.
So can you define that for me?
Yep. So I'd be going a top-end boot would be it depends. If you're a synthetic guy, if you're looking at brands, the Tiempos seem to be the big dog. The Asics Lethal brand as well too. Very popular. Very, very popular. They just look to be better made. They have a longer, thicker sole. The heel cup looks actually a lot thicker as well too, especially the padding around the top of the ankle as well. That's where I'd be saying high-end boot. I'd also throw in your Puma King and Copa, because if you actually look up the Copa, they look exactly the same as they did 30 years ago. No different.
Perfect.
Yeah, boots. I'd then say have your mid-range, which would be probably not it'd be like a hybrid synthetic. I don't know if there's such a thing. Like blown synthetics that you get. It's like a halfy. And then you just get the really cheap stuff for the cheapest brands as well too. You probably got normal stops. You haven't got the wider, thicker stops around the base. I think the construction and probably the materials that go into it, not as good as well too. So, but here's the thing. I don't care how good the boots are. I don't care how good your bike is. If you don't know how to find the pill or how to pedal, they're a waste.
I do agree, but when you go shopping for boots, or when you did Peps,
yep.
When I go shopping for bike parts or a new bike, I'm looking at performance. Like for me, performance matters. So I'm looking at the type of carbon they've used, the aero shaping of the profiles, the wheels, the package, the components. When you're looking at footy boots, is performance something that you are looking at?
No, mate, like I said, all I'm looking for in a pair of boots is to be able to keep my feet dry. They're going to be light. I can wet them. I can dry them. I can throw the nugget and polish them up, and they're going to last me a long time. That's it. That's all I'm asking for.
So when you look at the boots,
over synthetic any day of the week.
So when you look at footy boots then, and you see them with swirls and cuts and grooves and things, which are let's not beat around the bush. These are designed for more soccer than AFL football,
Yep.
yeah?
Yeah, true.
Is there a niche in the market for a specialist AFL boot? Like there used to be. I remember the old blunt toe ones and all these sorts of
No, I don't think there is.
or was it the hook? Was it the hook one that had the hook at the toe? What was the?
No, that was
Who was that?
No, that was the Iron Sheik, mate. That was the Iron Sheik in the WWF days. He had the hook boots. I know what you're saying. No, I don't think there is. A boot's a boot.
Carbon. What about carbon soled boots? You know how we've got the Nike Vaporfly, the 4%ers and the next percent. Like these are like the carbon soled with the cushion, and basically they give you bounce. Do you think footy boots could incorporate something like that?
It could, but we don't run in straight lines. Like soccer, a lot of it is straight line running. We're all over the joint. We've got to twist. We've got to turn. We've got to turn on a dime. We're going to have to push off. I just think that everyone's individual. You just need a pair of boots that are comfortable on your foot, that give you the stability that you need, and they feel comfortable when you kick the ball.
Yeah.
That is the reason. Full stop.
Why don't we see? And I don't have my cycling shoes behind me. Why don't we see? So I've got sort of my cycling shoes sort of tucked in there, which is one of my cycling shoes.
Yep.
That's got laces. Yep. In my other cycling shoes, I have boa dials. So you might have seen them on ski boots. Yep. Very common in that.
Or the Puma discs.
Puma disc. There we go. Which close your shoe over so it's a nice flat surface.
Yep.
I would say ideal technology for football adaptation.
No.
Why don't we do something? Why doesn't someone do that?
Because all you have to do is, if I saw someone and I was playing on a bloke with those, I'd kick him in the foot to undo his wheels. I'm serious. No, you need laces. I will say, and look, there's been comments coming in saying I'm a grandpa because I go black boots and leather, etc. And you know what? So I am. I'm a grandpa. Bloody superstar grandpa. But Tommy Raker says the biggest reason for poor kicking is laces. Maybe I don't agree. I think it's the newer balls haven't been kicked in, and they're actually quite hard to kick and control. So I think it's the ball to a degree.
So change the ball to a new fabric.
They only used to use one ball in a game, two balls in a game. Now they use 8 balls.
Synthetic balls you're calling for?
No. The balls need to be kicked in.
You are talking my language now. You want to revolutionise the game with a synthetic ball.
No, we just shut up. They just need to kick the ball. Kick the ball in, mate. Just kick it in. And you know what? The gun footballers had the same boots as the other footballers who couldn't kick. So it's a skill issue. It's not to do with the boots that they wear. That's just no.
Are blades still a thing?
Yeah, I think North were sponsored by them up until a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Are screw-ins still a thing?
No, AFL you cannot wear screw-ins.
Not AFL.
Nope, not even allowed to wear screw-ins at junior levels as well.
Right. Okay. So now it's just molds.
It's just molds. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yep. So basically, from what I can surmise from your points, there is no difference in a $370 boot to a $100 boot, other than.
You know what the difference is?
What?
Ego. That's the only difference.
What would you buy? Your money, what would you buy?
If I could buy a pair of boots.
I'm talking about like the $300 version of X boot versus the $100 version of X boot. What would you buy?
I'd go mid-range.
Somewhere in the middle?
Yep. I'd go somewhere in the middle.
Because of performance?
No, I just don't see the value in paying $300 for a pair of football boots.
So why would you not buy the $100 pair then?
Because I know that they're not going to be made as well.
Ah, so it's a price and perception thing for you.
No, it's not a price and perception thing. I've bought cheap boots and they've exactly that. Poor man pays twice. And so I set myself a limit and go, that's exactly the way. We're podcasting right now. We've got 2 different microphones. There's a limit I'll pay for a microphone. There's a hell of a lot better. There's a better version of this. It's going to cost me $600. Can't afford it. Don't need to.
Yeah.
Okay. In time, you never know.
Would you be influenced by guys at the club?
No.
No, you would.
They want to spend their money. Go for it.
Yeah. What about young Peps? Take me back to a 22-year-old Peps. Good money.
Yeah.
Would you be buying the best kangaroo leather boots out there?
Yeah, I would try and get myself a pair of Kings, or I always went for the Kings. Yeah, I was a King man. I wasn't the Copers. I went for the Kings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kings or the Kappas. I actually had a pair of Kappas for about 6 years.
Did you?
Yeah, they were great boots. Kappas. The last pair I've got them in the cupboard. Puma Kings, white and blue.
So essentially, you're saying there's no difference in the performance of the boots between a mid and a top a mid and a top tier boot.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whether the ego gets in the way.
Yeah, I reckon. You couldn't tell me. A good player couldn't tell me. Yeah, they might be a little bit lighter, but outside of that, still got to kick it. Still got to handball it like I handball with my feet.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
It is interesting. But hang up. I'm not the only one here. What are the like? Tommy Roker's gone absolutely berserk on the chat now, saying that he's literally given us a whole history on boots on the chat here. But for the listeners out there, for the viewers out there, are we wrong with boots? Would you pay low end hundreds, or would you go into that $300 echelon, even more for a pair of boots? What would you do?
And when you're shopping for boots, are you performance based or is it just on looks?
So if they looked awesome, but they were really shitty made, or they looked crap, but they were really well built, which one would you go for? I know which one I'd go for. Back in black, baby. Back in.
All right. Any other questions or any topics you want to talk about tonight, Peps?
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one thing, and it sort of relates to this a little bit. Kids sport.
Yes.
I've got kids. You've got kids. I've got kids doing sport. You will have kids doing sport. If not,
kids doing sports already. Yes.
Right. It might be just the way of the world and the way that pricing has worked, etc. But it sort of flows on from this because you got to buy them boots and you got to buy them uniforms. The price of football to play football, I thought was massively expensive. But then I compared it to some other sports, predominantly basketball and soccer. Football is still quite a cheap game to play. I want to say cheap. It's really cost effective. Now, it depends on which club. So some clubs don't charge fees whatsoever. I know some clubs charge $350. I've had another club that charges $450 for their fees, but then there's $150 for their jumper, shorts, all that sort of stuff. So it's $600 for the year. I looked at basketball. Basketball was up at that range as well too. That can get quite high.
Mm-hmm.
But then I looked at soccer, kids soccer. And you remember I told you how I had that concussion a little bit earlier on? I got another one when I found out that, juniors, I'm talking junior soccer. I'm not talking our age. Masters, I'm not talking about your age. Semi-masters. We're talking under 10s, 12s, 14s. Some soccer clubs are asking for $2,000 a year for the kids to play a sport.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot justify that to me in any shape or form that a 14-year-old kid running around or a 12-year-old kid running around who's doing this for fun, that a club can charge $2,000 for them to play soccer at their club. Regardless if, they're probably investing that money into coaches, get that. But what are you getting for your $2,000? Because it's not just one. And even if you want to play at that club, before you even do that, you have to do a trial at the club, and you've got to pay. I've seen like $100 to do a trial at the club, and you're not even guaranteed to get a game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I have heard of these stories before, and I grew up in a different time in a different sort of league, to say the metro stuff. So for mine, as everything was volunteer-based, I think the days of volunteer-based clubs are almost done. These days, people are wanting money to be paid. You got the some people there doing bars and doing things like that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yep. No, I reckon
but the days of volunteers are done in clubs.
Oh no! I think no. I would say that from a committee's perspective, they're not getting paid $1. All right, junior coaches. Probably not getting. They're not getting $1. Now, maybe in junior soccer, they're probably getting paid. All right. Once again, the ego. But from a junior footy perspective, no, I don't think that's the way it works, Jdog. I don't think that. I just couldn't justify it. I couldn't understand it.
Yeah,
why are they charging so much?
Because I think, and Dave has raised a good point here off the chat about pricing out future champions. You are limiting your pool potentially. Like you may have, and we've heard the stories before, a kid from the poorest region or the poorest town or not a great family situation. who comes through AFL and or comes through professional sport and really uplifts the whole thing. And at $2,000 for soccer, even football at $700, between $400 to $700, that's still quite expensive.
Oh, it is, especially if you've got more than one kid.
Yeah,
and a lot of these families do have more than one kid, so it's definitely going to be really expensive for them.
What about the old jumpers in the someone just takes the jumpers home and washes them, and then bring them back Saturday?
No, so instead of the clubs looking after the jumpers, you buy your own jumper and you get to keep it. Instead of just putting the jumpers in and someone washes them. It's just a different era these days, Jdog. And then normally what happens is that then the next year they get new sponsors, etc. Then they have to go around and do it again and buy another. Yeah, it's an interesting way of the world, and I don't know if I'm the only one, but has like kids sport become too expensive for parents?
Yeah, I'm probably in the yes with that one there.
And I'm quite fortunate, and you're quite fortunate in what we do. We can afford it, but I know there's a lot of people who can't, and they'd love to send their kids, but they're just not in a financial position the way that everything is at the moment.
Yeah, and
you wish you could just throw your hand out and say, "How can I help you?" But there's not much we can do. So I know some clubs.
I would love that, Peps. If a local sports store would hear this, I would love for them to get behind and give Lace out a $5 voucher, and then we can go and do something like that.
Yep. I know Zurich through the Melbourne Football Club, for every time that Melbourne, I think, kicked a goal last year, they gave away a pack. You got to nominate your club, and I was quite fortunate to win one. So I've got one for East Keeler that I'll be able to pass on. And it's like 10 rubber Sherrins, 20 bibs, a bag, just for the junior kids that they can have some balls to play with, which I thought was really cool. So they've done that. But yeah, I'd love to be able to go, hey, you know what? Who's a club out there that just needs help? And what can we do to help them? That would be just, if we could do that, there'd be nothing better.
Yeah. No, I'm on board. If anyone wants to come on board with us and do that with us, or
come on board with us. We want to try and how can we help junior footy in some way? It doesn't have to be big. I love a footy drive. If you've got an old footy that you're not using, send it into Jamie's house. And he'll send it off to the clubs. Like something like that would be, footies for juniors or footies for clubs. I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know, but
anyway. Drop it in the chat. We would love to hear it. But yeah, I just think that tell us what your stories are when it comes to junior sport. Has it got out of control? We'd love to hear it.
All right, my friend. Well, I think that's been a pretty comprehensive show. And
we haven't even started talking about footy because by the time we come back next week, we're going to have ground zero. I will be back with my tips later on in the week, so stay tuned for those. Those will be on the pod, and they will also be on their YouTube. So stay tuned. But more importantly, everybody who's been listening, jumping in, leaving a comment, we love every single one of you doing it. So we just want you to keep doing it every week. Tommy, Gold Coast are not going to win the flag this year. Stop pestering us. You've been doing it for 5 years. It ain't going to be happening in number 6. All right.
Let's wrap it up.
We're
racing the internet.
Beautiful. We're chewing up the internet, and I've got a maths episode to watch. So, Jdog, how do you want your football for the last week before ground zero?
I like it lace out.
And I love you, lace out, fellas. Ladies, everybody, have a great week. We'll see you next Monday night.
See you, listeners.